I don't even listen to myself all the time. I'm not perfect. I certainly don't have all the answers. One of my favorite philosophers is Aristotle. He said outside of society, human being is neither beast nor God. What he meant was that a human cannot be just an individual. He always exists in relation to another person. And that means that humans are largely the product of our society. One of the most important lessons I've learned from socialism and Karl Marx is about the raising the class consciousness and the different class interests and the class structure that we're born into, and how that if we're born in a poor family or if we're born in a rich family, our social experience are vastly different, and that shape our childhood and how we see things. And I think raising the class consciousness is one of those things that a liberal society try to prevent us from doing. I remember John Edward was having this debate about talking about corporate greed and how the lobbyists and the corporation have way too much money. And the other Democrat attacked him for bringing up class warfare. And, supposedly in a liberal society, we're not supposed to talk about class because everyone has political equality and everyone has a chance to succeed economically and everyone is treated as equal. And the government is not seen as something that provides for the citizen, but a necessary evil that exists only to make sure that we can live peacefully together. But most of all, government is something that we must guard against. And our right come from not participating in democracy, but largely come from freedom away from the government. At least that's how the United States is, and to a lesser extent, how Canada is. Margaret Thatcher said that there's no such thing as a society. Well, someone else said that the individual is the society, and that the time period that we were born in, that are out of our control, obviously, will largely decide 99% of our thoughts, our religion, our native tongue, our reason to live, and our reason to accept to die or to not accept to die. I'm not sure if 99% of our thoughts are decided by the time period that we were born in, but I do believe that the historical time that we were born in largely influences how we think and what we think about. The capitalist society is based on the notion that we are all just individuals and that everyone can succeed. And how capitalism works is that profit is the ultimate thing that we should go after. And the people who have the resources, the people who control the mode of reproduction, the capitalists, are free to exploit people's labor and for the purpose of earning profit. And I do believe that while I think that humans are naturally competitive and that humans might be a bit greedy, and that's not entirely the fault of capitalism, I believe that this particular mode of production does increase animosity and competition and greediness between different individuals. It pits different individuals against others because people are used in a way at the expense of other people's interests. And I think that creates a we versus them kind of mentality that still exists in our society. And the fact that we're born into this society with the Constitution being a certain way. In Canada, we were a bit lucky because our Constitution is only about 20 years old. So the women's group and the various interest groups were allowed to lobby for the Constitution to improve their standing in the society. The recent feminist movement, the minorities, racial minorities, etc., they're allowed to have a say in the Constitution. And I think what's interesting is that still we're born in a society where, the Constitution written in a certain way, and from what I've learned at school, all the European philosophers are the reason that, the white European philosopher men, they're the one that inspired the Constitution in the United States and the Constitution all over, Western democracies. And the fact that we were born into that kind of structure, we don't have a lot of control over what kind of society we want unless we decide to change the Constitution. And it was only very recently that different groups start to begin to have political equality and are treated as a legal person and have earned the entitled right to vote. For example, women and other people. And one other thing is that just even like with gay people, and in Canada, I was really proud that we have same-sex marriages and that finally homosexuals and same-sex couple are allowed to get married and gain equality and a more equal standing, at least legally, with the heterosexual counterpart. And I think that's very important. But as you know, that is not achieved in many other areas of the world. And, still, so many people are being left behind. And still, as of now, we're so many people are excluded from the political processes and from the social world, so from the mainstream society. And those are the people that are marginalized. And those are the people who feel like they're the others of the society. They're not part of the discussion. They were born in a world that is largely not favorable to them, and that doesn't make sense to them. That if you're not part of the mainstream society, then you're no longer really just an individual. You're associated with many other negative connotations that society has, imprinted on you without your consent. And I think I was watching the Republican debate, and they always talk about the Constitution and the narrow interpretation of the Constitution. They talk about gays people. They talk about illegal immigrant. They talk about women's right, abortion, and all that stuff. We really have to look at the object of what they're talking about. They're talking about the other people. And who are the we? The we are the guys who are the straight white guys. And just look at the Republican candidate. They're all straight white guys. Is it a coincidence? I don't think so. I think that the fact that you can treat other people and call them the others mean that they already have a marginalized experiences, and that we're not just individuals, and that some people have the luxuries to be treated as individuals because they have all the choices in the world, and other people are grouped into the other, the immoral, the illegals, all the other things that are not considered favorable to society, or even women. I think largely that we live in a world that is still has been created by male philosophers about what human nature is supposed to talk about, and only recently women have gained the right to vote and all that kind of thing. And still a lot of our philosophers and a lot of our thoughts are still largely based on what European male guys who were in the upper class thought at that time period. And I think that everything should be questionable. I think that the Constitution should be challenged, and the capitalist mode of production should be challenged, and the idea that we're just individuals should be challenged, because I think this is a time to raise the consciousness of those who were ever treated as the others in the society. And if you ever feel like you've been excluded from the political process, from the society, if you felt like you're marginalized because of the group that you belong to, and you feel that you have to adopt to the mainstream society, because American is called a melting pot, and in another way, we live in a society that is a melting pot, and what are we melting into?